Hey guys, here we are with 9.3 surface area of cylinders. To kind of start this lesson, I wanted to refer to our record and practice journal, what we would have done if we were actually in school and able to work in groups with all of these awesome utensils. But basically, we're thinking of a cylinder, and a cylinder, the most common thing that you can compare it to is just a can of soup or a can of peas or whatever it is. So it's anything that has a circle on the top and the bottom, and then it has that middle portion. So basically, if you have these tools and you want to use them to kind of visualize what you have, something as easy as a paper towel roll that's empty or a toilet paper roll, all you have to do is cut the cardboard like straight down the middle and unravel it, and you'll notice that it is this piece right here, which is actually going to roll out to be a rectangle. So imagine you have a can of hot peppers, just like you see here. If you were opening up that can of hot peppers with a can opener, and you open up the top of it, and try not to cut your finger when you're opening the top of it, you're going to see a circle. And the same thing on the bottom. And then just like they're doing in this picture, they're taking a piece of paper to show you how they make the label. When you unroll it, it's literally a rectangle. So the net of a cylinder is going to look like this. It's going to have two circles, and it's going to have a rectangle in the middle. And so, you know how I feel about formulas. I'm really not a fan because you don't remember formulas, you remember concepts. Now, you already learned how to find the area of a circle, and that's doing pi times the radius squared. So, you know you have two of those. You have this one, and you have this one. So it would make sense that you're going to say 2 pi r squareds to cover these two pieces. But then you just have to figure out how to do the rectangle. Now, obviously, we know that rectangle is length by width, but those measurements don't really go with pi r, those variables. So we have to put it in terms of these variables. Now, if you think about what's happening with this paper, it's literally going around kind of like the circumference of the circle. So remember, to find the circumference of a circle, you do 2 times pi times radius, or it was pi times diameter, because diameter is the same thing as 2 radius. So what we're going to do to find the entire circumference, since this would be represented by 2 pi r, the only thing we have to multiply that by is the height. So it turns out to say we have this 2 pi r squared, and then we have this 2 pi r that we're going to multiply by the height. Okay, so writing this down, your key idea, this is where it comes from. You have the area of the two circular bases, 2 pi r squared. You should be writing this down. And then you have 2 pi r h, which again comes from the circumference, which is the top, times the height. Okay, and you're going to add those together. So pretty simple once you understand that part. We're going to jump right into example number 1 and try this out. Okay, so I know that my radius is 4 and my height is 3. Oops, I need to put h there, not 3. So I'm going to do 2 times pi times my radius, which is 4. Plug that in right there for the r squared, and I always use parentheses when plugging it in, plus 2 times pi times my radius again, times my height. And when you simplify this, always be strategic. You want to do this as easy as possible. So in this expression, you don't have a choice. You need to do the exponent first. So we're going to do 4 squared, which is 4 times 4. Remember, you're not doing 4 times 2. 4 times 4, which is 16. And then just bring down the 2 pi. So you're going to do 2 times pi times 16. I'll leave it at that for now. In this expression, You can multiply all of them at the same time, or you can separate them. It's totally up to you. I like to just go with these two that I underlined. So 12 times 2 times pi. And again, it doesn't matter what order you write these down. I could have honestly put 16 times 2 times pi or whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you're covering all of the operations. So I'm going to do the 2 times the 16. It's going to give me 32, and I'm still leaving it as pi. Now I'm going to do the 12 times 2, which is 24 pi. And now finally, I am going to add those two together. So 32 and 24, that's going to give me 56 pi. Now, if it says in the instructions that you can leave it in terms of pi, then you're done. But this one does not. It says round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we are going to have to multiply this out. Remember that when you're multiplying, you are just matching up the number of numbers. You don't have to match up place value. So sometimes I even just leave that out when I'm multiplying. And so we should end up with 175 and 84 hundredths, but since they said to the nearest tenth, we'll say 175 and 8 tenths millimeters squared. Still doing squared since we are still talking about surface area. We're not talking about the amount that can fit in the can. We are talking about the amount of materials it took to make the can. Okay, so try these two on your own, and then come back to check your answers. Okay, so for the first one, your radius is 6, your height is 9. You're going to plug them in, simplify, multiply, and you should end up with 565 and 2 tenths yards squared. Second one, your radius is 3, your height, or your length, right? That looks like an L, but it's an H. Your height is 18. Simplify, and then multiply, and you get 395 and 6 tenths centimeters squared. Okay, so the last example that we're going to do, because we are not going to do the crazy last one and the last on your own, so this is it. So this question, how much paper is used for the label on the can of peas, you'll notice that if we were doing a net, we would not be including the circles. All they want to know is the paper. Okay, so that's literally just that rectangle piece. And remember, to find the area of that rectangle, normally we would do length times width, but we don't know the length times width measurements on a cylinder. We do know that this wraps around, this top piece wraps around, so does the bottom piece, and that would be the circumference, which is 2 pi r, and we're going to multiply that by the height. So that was basically just the second part of the equation. So here we go. We're going to do 2 times pi times the radius, which is 1. Just want to make sure that it's 1. Yep. Okay. Squared. I'm sorry, not squared. Times the height, which is 2. So all we have to do is multiply 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 times pi times 2. Again, it doesn't matter what order you write that down. You can put 2 times pi because it's commutative. Either way, it's going to be 4 pi. And then multiply that out. And that gives us 12 and 56 hundredths inches squared. And that is it. Alright guys, hope you have a wonderful Friday and weekend.